Perfect.
Okay. We should be recording.
Sorry, my chair is really loud. I will not move.
Oh, I'm like so shaky and sweaty now, Kayla. We were talking about that this morning. It's like I do a million trainings, but this is a new training, and so when it's new material, it always makes me a little nervous. But I guess that's good for the energy level, right?
But yeah. You always do well, Sarah. You always do well.
All right, we're up to 257. We'll give it one more minute and then we'll get started.
You would rather have questions submitted in the Q&A box and not the chat box, correct?
Actually, the chat feature is better. That's what I have pulled up.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think, okay, it's 10:04. We're up to 266 people that have joined us. I think we'll go ahead and kick it off. So welcome, everybody. And bear with us as we try to figure out this technology. We've not done a webinar with video before. So, you know, bear with us. So welcome to the TSAHC Down Payment Assistance Grant training. This training was developed to help lenders avoid the top 5 errors that are made when using our down payment assistance program. And we expect that this training will be the first in a series of 3. So next month we will have a training specific to our 3-year deferred forgivable second lien option. And then in October, we'll do a training that will cover any option that might include an NCC. So thank you for joining us. Today we have on the video, you will see 2 members of our compliance team. We have Kayla Gillespie. She is our compliance specialist. She's the newbie on the team. She's been with us for almost 6 months now. She joined us right before everything went crazy. So we got her on board before everything kind of hit the fan, if you will. And then we have Delia Davila. She is our senior compliance manager. So she has been with us for almost 8 years, right, Delia? I think you started a month before I did.
Yeah, we're a month apart.
They're gonna, they're gonna be on the call for an extensive Q&A at the end of this training. So the first 30 minutes will be me kind of going through a refresher with you all, and then we will be going through the top 5 errors that the compliance team are seeing on our grant program specifically. So again, this training is specific to our down payment assistant grant options. So try to hold your questions until the end. If you do have questions, please type them into the chat feature. And at the end, I will be reading aloud the questions that come in, and then Kayla and Delia will be answering those questions aloud. So everybody can hear the question and the answer. So again, the first 30 minutes will be me covering the errors, and then the last hour we've held for an extensive Q&A. So you can stay for as long as you like for that Q&A portion of the training. This training will be recorded, and we will be posting it on our website after the fact. So you can look out for that. We will likely also send a notice to those that registered to find the training on our website going forward if they had to log off early, or if you want to share it with your colleagues, that would be great. I do want to mention that this training is not our required training, and it's not going to meet our training requirement to participate in our program. We do have Module 1, Module 2, and Module 3 required trainings for loan officers, processors, and underwriters and closers. Those are the required trainings you need to take in order to gain access to our portal and programs. This is a supplemental training to help with continuing your education on our products and to help your processes go more smoothly when using our products. And then finally, I guess I'll introduce myself. So I'm Sarah Eleanor. I am the Senior Manager of Homeownership Programs, so I'm more on the marketing and development side of the team. And we've got Danielle Levesque, the director, online. She is joining us through audio, but not here on video. But I do want to mention that she's also here with us. I have been here for, like I said, Delia and I started a month apart from each other, and it'll be 8 years in December. Obviously, this is a great place to work, and I've always had a passion for affordable housing. I've been in affordable housing since I started my career. I started off as an AmeriCorps Vista volunteer at Habitat for Humanity, and then I moved into a housing counseling role. From there, helping people get into housing, working on credit barriers, et cetera. And then moved to Austin because my husband is from Austin, and you can't keep those Austin boys out of Austin. So we came back to Austin, and here we are. And 8 years later, I actually met the TSAHC staff on the Habitat for Humanity job site here in Austin because I didn't have a job right away when I moved here. And I met the whole staff, and I stayed in touch with them for about almost a year. And when this job came open, they emailed me and asked me if I was still looking, and I guess the rest is history, as they say. So, all right, guys, enough about me. Let's get started. So I'm hopeful that my slides will actually move forward for us. And yes, so this training was developed again to help refresh your memories on what's available to you in the portal and how to use it. So first off, we want to remind you that when you go to the portal, you're going to see a button in the upper right-hand corner that says Program Documents. I really want you to focus on the Program Documents button because in that section, you're going to find a lot of resources that are available to you. So we have step-by-step procedures. We have our income limits and guidelines. We have how to clear conditions on your file. We have instructions for you on how to fill out the note and the deed for the second lien program, training resources, lots of different resources. So please keep that in mind when you go to the portal. If you're having questions, you can always go to that program document section to find answers to those questions. Okay, we'll get this technology figured out. As I said, bear with me. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is the step-by-step procedures. This document that you find in the program documents section is very important because it's broken down by column. So it's kind of like a quick cheat sheet to our guidelines. So you follow it, based on the program you're using for your borrower, you would follow that particular column all the way down to the very last step. It's going to tell you how to move your file through the pipeline. It even shows you the required documents that we ask for review on our end. And so you'll see that there are very specific documents listed there. They all live in the portal. Please just stick to those documents. We don't need anything additional loaded onto the portal for us to review. We only need these documents to review. Basically, we have people that upload full packages, and that delays us when we review your file because we have to sift through those documents to find the ones that we actually need and that we actually need to review. So please just stick to those documents that are listed on the step-by-step procedure. Then we have a column that says stage and status. It will actually tell you, based on what step you're on, what stage and status to look for so that you can move your file through the pipeline to the next step. So if you're unsure what a stage or status means, just go to the step-by-step and look to see what that means and where you are in the process. I will say that on average, when you do submit a file to us, we have a 2 business day turn time. It may be 3 business days during high volume times, which we are definitely seeing right now. We're in the process of hiring a new compliance specialist if anyone needs a job or knows somebody looking for a job. So, we do our best to make it a great process for you and a smooth process, but we also need for you guys to think about when you're submitting a pre-closing package to us, we need to see that 5 business days prior to closing. The reason we ask for it 5 days prior to closing is because of that 2 business day turn time. If we review your file and there's a condition on it, if you're missing a document or the document wasn't filled out properly, then we need another 2 days to review what you've then tried to clear, right? You try to fix the condition, and then we need another 2 business days to review your fix. And so that way, if you do it 5 days in advance, you're not having to delay your closing, and you're not having to feel rushed or panicked because, you know, something's wrong. So 5 days before you close is what we ask for. All right, next, we want to talk about the loan status tab. This is where you're going to find your loan in the portal. Okay, so, and I want to show you the buttons that you can find associated with your file. So here, you're going to see different buttons. This is where you can go to look up your file. You can type in the loan number. You can look it up by last name. You can look it up by borrower name, etc. Okay. The buttons that you'll see are the View button, the Reprint button, the PDF Docs button, and the eDocs button. So I'm going to go through those real quick with you so that you can know what is in each button and how that can help you. You can also see this is where you'll find your stage and your status. And again, if you don't know what they mean, you go to the step-by-step procedures to see where you are in the process. So first, we're going to look at the View button. The View button is where you're going to find the details of your loan. So you can find your expiration dates here, your reservation and commitment expiration dates. You can find the name of your program. So you'll see this is the name of the program that you reserved for your borrower. We do get questions about, you know, is this a bond or a non-bond? I'm probably going to go over that a lot during this training because that's an FAQ that we get. If you do not see the word bond in your program name, it's a non-bond. It's only going to be a bond if you see bond in the program name. So if you're wondering what you reserved for your borrower, you can go to the View button and make sure that your program name is correct. You can also find your conditions and exceptions here. This is where you're going to see, hey, I have an incomplete status on my file in the loan status tab. Why? You go to the View button, and this is where you'll see our notes. We're going to condition for exactly what we need. This is also where you can see the different stages and statuses, and on the dates that we, you know, might have reviewed your file. It will follow along with everything that's been done on your file. Okay, next we have the Reprint button. The Reprint button, let me go down here real quick, bear with me. Okay, so the Reprint button is basically something that a lot of times underwriters will ask for or lenders will ask for. They want to make sure that their reservation has been accepted by us in our lender portal. And this is what you can print out to show that it has been accepted. People also ask for this when they've requested a change be made on their file. If they, you know, needed to change a loan amount, or they needed to change the program type, or they wanted to add an MCC, whatever they might be changing, once it's been changed on our end, then you can go back to the file in the loan status tab and click on the Reprint button, and all of these details will be updated once we make that change. So if you need to resubmit it to your underwriter or whoever, that is where you can find it. So here is where you'll see the program, you know, the program name. It'll show you your interest rate, all kinds of details in here. Those are just a few options. All right, next is the PDF Docs button. So when you click on the PDF Docs button, you are going to see all the documents that are specific to your file. So please, please, please make sure that you're downloading the documents anew every time you make a reservation. A lot of times people are, downloading or have saved the wrong program documents on their desktop and they submit those to us. These documents generate along with your reservation, and so they're very specific to your reservation type. So make sure that you're generating them from the PDF Docs button associated with your file. Okay, next is the eDocs button. This is where you're going to upload those documents to your file in the Lender Portal. You're going to click on the Add New, depending on where, if you're uploading the underwriter certification or the pre-closing or the post-closing package, you would click on that Add New button associated with that section, and then submit it to us when you're done. All right, now that we've done with the refresher, we're going to get into the meat of the errors that we're seeing. And so these are best practices, guys. So try to stay awake for this portion. So give me a minute here. I want to get to my notes. I've got two screens. I finally got two screens yesterday for my work from home setup. So I'm trying to get it figured out on what I'm seeing and what you're seeing. Okay, so top error number 1. The first error is that you're reserving the incorrect product for the borrower. So when you click on New Reservation, you're going to see different series available to you. So the first section are for the down payment assistance options only. The second section is if you're planning to use the MCC by itself or you're planning to use a DPA and MCC combo. But since this training is focused on our grant program and the grant associated with the DPA only, I want to show you what you're going to see. So I'm just going to show you the grant on the government loan first. All right, so so first you're going to select the program that you want. So you have the grant, right? And you're wanting to do it on a government loan. So you select government DPA only. Make sure that you're selecting the right profession. So if you are working with a Texas Hero, you need to click on the Heroes option, whether it be the 3%, the 4%, or the 5%. One of the biggest misconceptions that we have are that nurses, regular nurses, would qualify under the Texas Hero category. They actually qualify under the Home Sweet Texas category. So that's one of the biggest errors, is that you're making the reservation under the Hero category, but your borrower is a nurse. They would want to be under the Home Sweet Texas, which you see here, HST, Home Sweet Texas. So the other confusion that we get is that professional nursing and allied health faculty members. So what that means, and I wish that we could change this terminology, but this is what the legislature calls it, and therefore we have to follow that enabling legislation. But faculty members for a nursing and allied health program are actually the professors working for those higher education programs. So a nurse would actually qualify under the Home Sweet Texas category, and professors teaching a nursing program or an allied health program would qualify under the Texas Hero category. So just think teacher when you're thinking Texas Heroes, and then anyone else would qualify under the Home Sweet Texas program. Again, this is where I will mention, in my notes here, if the word bond is not in that program type name, then it is a non-bond. Right now, we are out of bond funds and probably will not have a bond program for a while until we, feel like the market is stabilized again due to this, craziness that we're experiencing in the world right now. So for right now, just focus on the non-bond part of our guidelines and know that all the products that we have right now are non-bond. I always take folks to our interest rate chart to show them, I feel like it's a good visual. So when you look at our interest rate chart, you're going to see that we label those non-bond or bond. So right now you'll see we don't have anything with the word bond in it. So everything that we have is considered a non-bond option. So we have grants, and we have the 3-year deferred forgivable second lien. They're all non-bonds. Both Homes for Texas Heroes borrowers and Home Sweet Texas borrowers have access to all of these products, okay? So all of these products are available to really anyone. Okay, top error number 2, let me get to my notes here real quick, has to do with non-purchasing spouses. So co-signers, non-occupying co-borrowers, non-purchasing spouses should not be included on the TSAHC reservations. And again, remember this training is specific to our down payment assistance grant program. We do not require any of that information on our grant documents, okay? The only time we would even ask for a non-purchasing spouse's income or information is if you plan to include an MCC. But again, this training is specific to our grant DPA only, so we do not need any of this information on our reservations or on our TSAHC PDF docs for that matter. Okay, top error number 3. We get a lot of questions thinking, you know, people think that their reservation needs to show the down payment assistance amount. So when they're reserving the file in our lender portal, they think, oh, where do I put in the DPA amount that they're getting? There's no specific field for the DPA amount on the reservation itself. And people are putting the down payment assistance amount in the subordinate financing field. You'll notice there's no red asterisk associated with that field. We do not require that field, and we do not provide subordinate financing. So do not put that in the field. Leave that field blank. If you're wanting to know where the DPA amount is shown, it's actually on one of our forms in the PDF docs section once you make the reservation. It's going to be on the, I think I actually have the slide. Yes, the notice to buyer or DPA notice to buyer form located in the PDF docs button. It will actually calculate the grant amount here. We accept, I think we get a lot of questions. I didn't even add this in my notes, but I do get a question about, do we round, you know, do we use exact cents? Do we round up or do we round down? We accept anything, any version of that. So whatever your underwriter feels comfortable with, we will accept. Round up, round down, or exact. So this is the form that will show you the exact amount that the borrower is getting from us, if you're wondering where that's located. And the DPA amount is actually calculated based on the total loan amount, including MIP. So that's another question that we get. All right. We also have, to help you when you are making a reservation, we recently worked on a reservation cheat sheet, and that's something that you can find in that program documents section that I mentioned at the very beginning. So I show you here again the program documents section, but basically the new reservation cheat sheet is very helpful if you're finding yourself filling out a reservation. Maybe it's for the first time or maybe it's for the 18 millionth time, but you just find yourself blanking on what to put in a certain field. This cheat sheet is very detailed, and it's going to show you exactly what you need to put in each field. And it kind of covers some of the biggest errors that we see when we get reservations on our end. We even have a second lien one. So if you're ever doing the second lien, but just know that that resource is there. And so you can follow along with it, pull it up, have it next to you when you're making your reservation, just in case you need it. All right. Top error number 4, not downloading the correct PDF documents directly from our portal. So again, we talked about this in the beginning, but I'm going to mention it again because it's so important. The PDF doc section is where you get your documents for TSAHC. It's associated with your loan specifically. And so it's very important that you submit the right documents if you want a smooth transaction with us. If you don't submit the right documents, it takes us 2 business days to find that out. We say, hey, you submitted the wrong documents. You're going to have to refill them all out with the borrower. You're going to have to resubmit them, and that's another 2 business days to review. So make sure you're just downloading them directly from the section of your loan, only uploading the checklist. So we have a checklist of items that we need to see, nothing else. If you upload more than we need, it's going to slow down your review time. So just make sure you're making it streamlined for both of us. The other question or the other error that comes along with this is that you want to make sure you fill out every single field on those documents. We get folks that submit blank documents. The fields aren't completed. And so we have to tell them, hey, this is missing a signature. This is missing fields. You know, you need to complete every single field, save it, and submit it to us, okay? All right, and the last error, let me get to my notes here, is not knowing how or when to ask for rate lock extensions. So we want to clarify with you all, when you make a reservation in our portal, your loan is good for 60 days. So your interest rate is locked for 60 days. This is, again, where you can click on the view button to find out what those expiration dates are. The loan has to be sold to Lakeview Loan Servicing, our master servicer, by the 60th day. You may have an internal lock that, you know, expires, and that's on y'all's end, you know, but your rate is locked in with us for 60 full days. So a lot of times we get folks reaching out to us saying they need to extend their loan, thinking that their interest rate's going to expire with us, and it's not. The only time you would need to extend a loan with us is if you don't think you can get the loan sold to Lakeview by that 60th day. At that point, you have the option to go to the PDF docs section, download an extension request form, and submit it to us. You have the option of 7, 15, or 30 days to extend your file at the cost of 1 basis point per day. So this is where I was mentioning, go to the PDF docs button, find the official extension form. You can also email it to compliancereview@tshac.org if you're needing it to be extended ASAP. If you don't need it to be extended ASAP, you can upload it to the file and we'll get to it in 2 business days. So if it's a rush, email us. If it's not, if you can wait 2 business days, you can just upload it to your file and we will get to it when we see it on our file reviews that day. All right, last but not least, what you can find on our website. So readytobuyatexashome.com. This is where you can find the lender section. You can see today's interest rates, income limits and guidelines, how to become an approved lender, lender training, etc. There's also marketing resources in there for you. Then, of course, we have the latest news. We have bulletins that pop up with the latest interest rates, and that's where you can find them here if you're in the lender portal versus our website. And then again, the program documents. I know that we're hammering that, but that is a great section for you to know about and find resources in. And then we have our team. We don't have a picture of Kayla on here because she just joined us right before the pandemic hit. And then we're looking to hire another person on the compliance side shortly. So again, if you know anybody that's looking for a job, we need help reviewing files so that we can meet those 2 business day turn times. So I think my portion of the training is done. So I think I will pull up the chat feature here and maybe some questions have come in. I noticed that you guys were kind of trying to answer them. Danielle, typing in answers. Let's see here.
Yeah, so we did have a couple of questions. We were asking them to wait till the end. So I would suggest to everyone, if you have a question, this would be a good time to submit it through the chat feature.
Okay, great. Yeah, that way I don't have to kind of sift through what came in while I was talking.
There were a couple of good questions that came in that we answered. One of which was, what's the difference between a bond and a non-bond? And if you want to read the answer out loud, I think that would be a good answer for everyone to hear.
Okay, Kayla or Delia, do you want to take what's the difference between a non-bond and a bond? Maybe Delia, you want to take that one since Kayla was here kind of
Yeah.
after we finished our bond program.
This is the most common question we get from everybody. The bond program is a limited amount of money that we get that has very similar rules to our MCC program. It requires to be a first-time home buyer. You have to turn in tax returns, and it's a very, it's a pretty intensive application process for it. And once that money's gone, it's gone. And that's it. It's just the difference between funding it through that type of money or through our regular non-bond grants that we give through our company. So you're either going to get a grant from us through TSAHC, or you're going to apply for a bond, which comes from the government, basically. It's like special money that we get. That money's all gone. That application process and that underwriting process is very different for bonds, but it's gone. We don't have any more money in that. So everything we're currently doing now is non-bond. So the confusion we have with the bond program, and a lot of underwriters are having this problem. The bond program was given to Texas Heroes only. They had a lot of restrictions on it. But that doesn't mean that Texas Heroes are no longer able to get our assistance. In fact, they've always been able to get our assistance, but just not, it's just a part of the non-bond program. It's part of the traditional TSAHC grant process or the second lien process. So we still offer help for heroes, non-heroes, everybody. It's just not gonna be funded through this bond money. It's gonna be our regular TSAHC money.
Delia, if you don't mind, I would like to add to that.
Yes.
Add to what the difference between a bond and non-bond DPA is.
Yes.
So the difference truly is the source of funds. You know, as Delia, bond funds are regulated by the IRS and various and through the Texas Bond Review Board. And so those funds are generated from mortgage revenue bonds. And they do require that a home buyer be a first-time home buyer. And as Delia mentioned, those are available ever so often and for a very short time. We've actually only had bond funds twice in about the last 12 years. Once this last year and once the year before that. So they're very limited funds and come very seldom. The non-bond down payment assistance is the down payment assistance that you guys are mostly used to and have seen for again, the last 12 years. And those are funded through mortgage-backed securities as normal mortgage loans are. And they do not have a first-time home buyer requirement. So 95 or 98% of the loans that you are doing through us are non-bond down payment assistance. And it can be either a grant or 3-year deferred forgivable, second lien. So all of the loan types are available with our non-bond. And again, those are the funds of source of funds are similar to normal mortgage loans, and they are mortgage-backed securities, and rates fluctuate daily based on the market. So I would end with that.
Yeah, and I'll just throw this question out there because it kind of is in line with that. We got a question: do you require 3 years tax returns for this program?
So if you look at the step-by-step procedures that we are constantly showing everybody, the difference between the DPA, MCC, DPA, and the bond program, it will literally tell you if tax returns are required for that particular program. And I always tell people, always look at that chart. Also, the checklist, the pre-closing compliance checklist will tell you if tax returns are required. So basically, tax returns will be required for MCCs or bond programs. So MCCs, yes. Regular TSAHC down payment, second lien, or grants, no. It'll be listed on the checklist and on the step-by-step procedures chart.
Okay. So next one, you mentioned that a nurse did not qualify as heroes. Wouldn't that be considered an EMS personnel?
So in my opinion, the nurses that do work in the emergency room would qualify as a Texas Hero under emergency services personnel, but it just needs to be marked correctly. Oftentimes we do get that they were reserved under that term professional nurse faculty, and then maybe they'll select EMS personnel on the program affidavit. So if a nurse does happen to work in emergency room care, then I think it's perfectly acceptable for them to be marked as emergency services personnel. Some nurses who might just be a general practitioner nurse, like Sarah said, they will qualify under the Home Sweet Texas versus the Texas Hero.
Can I add to that, Kayla? I would like to point out that actually if under emergency services personnel, that has to do with like ambulance and first responder types. So if they are a nurse / first responder, then that would be acceptable. But unfortunately, emergency room nurses are not included. I apologize for that.
Okay, so even like because I know that one of the, like they mentioned in this question, there is emergency care attendant, and I assume there's emergency medical technician, and then there's also like
So what you can do is we actually have a document on our website that goes over the exact definitions of the emergency services personnel. So anyone who is interested in looking at that can go directly to our website and find the exact definition. But as Sarah mentioned earlier, that is obviously one of our biggest misconceptions and misunderstandings.
Yeah.
Want to add anything to that?
Down to their occupation title.
Right. Sarah, you want to add anything to that?
No, I mean, I think, I guess for that question, sorry, I just realized that I accidentally, there we go. Hopefully you can see my presentation again. So what I would say is when you think of that profession, I would think of EMT, EMS, the people that might be nurses, and they might be working on an ambulance or an EMS type of vehicle.
First responder types.
First responders, yeah, first responders. So, okay, let me see here.
But just to be clear, we're still able to help them. We're still going to be able to help them, but you just have to label them as Home Sweet Texas. So it's not going to, we're still able to help. That's one of the things that people think, that we can't help them unless they are a Texas Hero, but we can. We just have to label it correctly. It's more for like, we just have to make sure we're labeling for all of our board reporting and tracking and, making sure that all of the documents are just, the reservations are made correctly. That's basically it. But
okay, the next question, if a reservation is made for a borrower and then they decide not to purchase the property and cancel the loan, how does that impact their reservation / rate request on the next property they find?
So this one is a really tough,
I'll let you guys,
because this one's a tough question. So basically the way our system is set up is when you make a reservation, you are putting money aside that we're going to give you, and we're going to lock it in with a specific rate. So once it gets locked in, you are locked in for 60 days. And whatever rates were available on that day is what we have put aside for funding to give you guys. Now, when you go in and cancel a file, you basically lock your borrower from using all of our programs for an additional 60 days. We don't like to cancel people because it causes a lot of problems, and then you're like, I can't make a reservation. It's because somebody went in and canceled something, and there's a lot of duplicate applications that come through, and it can get a little messy. So what I say is, if you make a reservation and your borrower has to start all over, if you need to make a new reservation, the first thing you want to do is email compliancereview@tshac.org. Explain to us what happened, And if we need to allow you to make a new reservation, you will be able to. But when you make a new reservation, again, you have to then put aside that funding that's available at that time and get a whole new rate and a whole new lock. If you want to stick with your original lock and just have us update the reservation that you made with us, we can do that. So if you don't want to change that rate, you want to stick to that original reservation lock period and rate, all you have to do is email us and say, just update the loan amount and all of the information. You can update it if you don't want to change that rate. But if you just want to start all over again, because we have to know exactly why you're starting over again. If it was something like the borrower's contract fell apart, you're starting all over again, that is beyond our control. It's beyond the borrower's control. Then we'll work something out, or we'll let you reserve again. But we need to know what's happening, because it's really, we have to put that money aside and those rates aside for funding. And we just you definitely have to communicate with us. Always email compliancereview@tsac.org, give us the borrower name, the reservation number, and explain to us what's going on so we can figure out the best solution and the best possible way to move that file forward.
And I might, Delia, if you don't mind, I might add just, when rates go down, we get a lot of folks asking if they can cancel their current lock and relock because they want the better rate for their borrower. Perfectly acceptable to ask, because you're doing your due diligence for your borrower. Obviously you want the best for your borrower. It doesn't work that way. Once you're locked in our system, you cannot go up or down. So that's the purpose of locking your rate, right? You can't go up or down. So that's not an option. If the rates go down, you have to stick with what you have, unless you have a property fall through or something like that. Like Delia said, you communicate to us, but you re-reserve, you get the rate that's available that day. And that's just how it is. So let's keep going though. So how do realtors get training for this program? I'll take that one real quick. There's a realtor section on our website, TSAHC.org. Go to the realtor section and you'll see realtor training. We've got lots of different options. Janielle, myself, and Frank Duplashan, who's, I don't know if he's on the call today, but we do a lot of training for realtors. Okay, let's see here. Why would you do a bond versus a grant?
Sarah,
Delia, you want me to take that one?
Yes, I think we lost Kayla's
Okay.
video for a second.
Yeah, we lost
yeah.
Kayla's video for a minute, but I can take it. So bond versus grant. Again, the source of funds for a bond a lot of times comes with some benefits. And usually that is related to the interest rate that you would get on the first lien mortgage, so the senior lien. A lot of times we're able to use our bond authority to issue mortgage revenue bonds in order to provide down payment assistance at a lower rate than what we would be able to offer with our mortgage-backed security non-bond option. So that's why someone would obviously choose that. When we did our recent bond program, we decided that we would only offer it to heroes. So when we issue our mortgage revenue bonds with the authority we have by the state, we decide the terms of the bond. And at that point, we decided we would only offer it to heroes. It's not always going to be that way. It just depends on when we do another bond program, what that's going to look like. It might be open to everybody, might be restricted by income. But basically, the bond usually will offer a benefit over and above what the mortgage-backed security grant or second lien program would offer. Okay, so are bond funds always only for heroes? So that answered that question. When the loan is allowed to refinance, is it 6 months or 3 years? When is the loan allowed to refinance? Is it 6 months or 3 years?
So that is depending on the reservation that your borrower or that you guys applied for. If you're doing a 3-year forgivable, then obviously it would be 3 years from the closing date, or the 30 months. If you're doing a grant, we don't put liens on grants. We're literally giving you guys money with those grants. But we ask to wait at least 6 months because we need to put that loan through secondary marketing and get it set up with our investor. And then they have, once they have that file, you know, it takes time. They can't just close and then turn right around and sell their house. That's not what this program is really about. But, you know, if it has to happen, we just say, you know, that's something that you can refinance. We say 6 months to give everybody time to get that loan settled. But if you do have a second lien, that's where that 3-year forgivable lien comes in. 3 years for that.
Right. So with the grant, it's 6 months. We have them sign a program affidavit that says they will live there for at least 6 months before they do anything with their loan or their house. And then with the 3-year deferred forgivable second lien, there's no interest accruing on those payments. Those payments are deferred. If they live there for at least 3 years, then that becomes a grant, if you will. The money doesn't need to be repaid after that. It's forgiven.
They can
okay,
refinance.
so I don't.
Let me add to that. They can refinance or sell the property within that 3-year period, but they would owe 100% of the down payment assistance back to TSAHC.
Correct. Okay, so we had a nice from Samantha Studebaker. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to say thank you for the refresher. Been using this program for the last 4 years to help borrowers obtain affordable housing, and I've always had a great experience with the staff there. Thank you. That was nice.
So we are having some questions come in through the Q&A portion instead of the chat feature. And
So I'm getting, okay, I'll look at those next. Let me get through the chat feature first.
Okay.
Okay, so again, with the grant, we ask them to stay in the home for at least 6 months. If they do sell or refinance or whatever before then they potentially could have to pay that money back that they received. And it, you know, it's going to be between them and their lender at that point. The second lien is after 36 months. So 3 years from the time they close. If they do anything within that first 3 years, sell, refinance, any of that, then they would owe the money back to TSAHC. There's a lien on their property with that program. But after 3 years, it's forgiven. They would not need to pay us back. Yes, this will be recorded.
There was a question.
Oh, go ahead.
There was a question way earlier from Chris Alvarado regarding the documents that you upload to the eDocs. He had asked if it's only one document for the pre-close compliance package, and the answer is no. You can actually upload as many documents as possible that server will allow. So a lot of people will, you know, combine all the documents into one upload, and other folks will separate it out. Sometimes, you know, the upload does work easier if you separate them because your file might be too big. So I just wanted to make sure that question got answered. I hope that answers your question.
Okay. And I'm not aware of this, but I'm going to throw this out there for Delia and Danielle, just in case you might know. Our corporate has indicated that the servicer, Lakeview, requires the tax returns and that we need to get them even though TSAHC does not require to review them on a DPA only product, no MCC. Do either of you know if that's...
No, if you're getting that response from Lakeview, let us know. They may be looking at the wrong file. So
It's in reference to the first lien, not.
It's in reference to the first lien? Oh, okay.
So in other words, you're not submitting those tax returns to us, but obviously a first lien may have requirements of tax returns. So that's separate from what is required for the down payment assistance. And you're going to see what the tax return requirements are through the Lakeview loan matrices that we have uploaded to the program documents section of the lender portal, along with any automated underwriting findings that you might have. Does that sound right, Sarah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to go on to the next question. Why would someone do the 3-year deferred forgivable in lieu of the grant?
You want to take that one, Sarah?
Do you want me to, Delia?
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Okay. So up until recently with the pandemic, when we first came out with this 3-year deferred forgivable second lien, it had a better interest rate on the first lien than the grant options did. And so that was sort of the competitive edge, you know, that we wanted the second lien to have, is that if someone didn't mind and they planned on living in the home for longer than 3 years, they could get a lower interest rate with the 3-year deferred forgivable versus the grant. Right now, it's crazy. The market has been a little, you know, weird in that our 3 and 4% options are the same interest rate with the grant and the second lien. The 5% option still has a lower interest rate with the 3-year deferred forgivable. But, you know, so that's technically why someone would be more interested in the second lien. But I will say from a lender's standpoint, we've heard that automated underwriting systems are sometimes rejecting the grant, but they accept the second lien. So, or vice versa, depending on what product you're using. So the great thing now is that we have both options. So if someone's having a hard time getting the grant through, but they really need the assistance, they could try switching it to the second lien because the interest rates are basically the same for the 3 and the 4% option. They could just switch it to the second lien and see if they get that approved eligible through their automated underwriting. So that's kind of a handy trick that I guess we've heard from lenders, is that they're just kind of switching it back and forth. And now we have both options. So hopefully we can get, you know, somebody approved regardless of which option that may be. A client asked me, what's the catch on the grant program? Why are they giving money away for free? I wasn't sure how to answer that. Any takers?
Well, in general, when you're offering down payment assistance through a lot of the other down payment assistance products that are out there, it comes with a little bit of a higher interest rate. Right now, the rates are so low. It's like we literally are just giving money away. So take it while it's there. It's my only suggestion.
Yeah, there's really no catch.
Yeah. There's really no catch. I mean, no. I will say that, you know, like Delia said, our interest rate is typically going to be higher than what the market bears without down payment assistance. And so, but right now our interest rates are very competitive with market rates. And so, you know, you're getting free money with a really competitive interest rate. It's kind of a win-win. But generally, you know, in more non-crazy times, our interest rate will be a little higher than the market. So they're kind of paying for it with a little bit higher interest rate, but maybe that's, you know, it's not going to be a ton higher. And so maybe they just are okay with that because they don't want to come up with the out-of-pocket funds to come to the closing table with. All right, let's keep going, folks. Any timeline on allowing DPI of over 45% for borrowers, for normal borrowers? I think they mean 620 and higher FICOs. I think they're talking about the government overlay. We don't have any timeline. I mean, Lakeview has told us that is temporary, but that we haven't gotten any word on when they plan to release that overlay. So for now, if you're using a government loan and your borrower has over a 45% debt to income ratio, they will be required to have that 700 FICO for now. And believe me, we will send out lots of announcements as soon as that's released, because we will want everybody and everybody to know it. So if you don't get our emails, you should contact us so that we can get you on our distribution list. Now somebody's commenting on my cat in the background. Thanks.
Another question that came up that I can answer, 2 questions really quickly. Do the non-bond or the DPA funds that we offer run out? No. it's a constantly feeding the pot. So we definitely will keep that the funds going for the typical non-bond program. So
Right, our down, exactly. So like, I apologize for interrupting, Delia. I'm sorry, I thought you were done. But to add to that, our down payment assistance non-bond is backed through mortgage-backed security. So funds are always available just as they are for any mortgage loan. It is a perpetual fund.
And then the second question that came up that I just wanted to piggyback on or talk about again, the confusion about whether an emergency room nurse should be considered a Texas hero. Just to be clear, we have a very specific list of who is considered a Texas hero and who isn't. And typically nurses in general are not on that list unless they are a first responder or a school nurse or teaching in a nursing program. And it's a very, very specific list, which is found on our website and on our portal. And if you have trouble finding it, just email us and we can send you a copy of the list. And you can contact us at any time and we can email it to you.
And they have to have an EMS certification.
Yes, have an AMS certification.
Okay, am I right in understanding that DTI limits on FHA TSAHC loans are 43%, even if traditional FHA DTI guidelines allow for 55%?
That is a good question. There's a lot of confusion on that. The 43% I think came about whenever we were accepting the
Manual underwriting.
Manual.
underwriting. Thank you. Can't need more coffee apparently. There's the new overlay that is currently happening now because of COVID, which kind of changed a lot of our DTI rules. We didn't really have a DTI limit unless you were doing a manual underwrite, which was that 43%. Well, now with the COVID situation happening, if your borrower has a DTI, it's on government loans only. If your borrower has a DTI above 45%, you need their FICO score to be 700. If their DTI is less than 45%, then they can go as low as 620 for our government loan programs. So it's just that DTI is going to trigger whether they need a high FICO or if we can have the regular FICO scores that you see here on all of our guidelines.
Can I add something real quick? I just noticed Vicky Visconti made a comment and she says that's not true. We follow agency. That must be in reference to the tax returns required by Lakeview. Vicky, is that correct?
Oh, on the tax returns question?
Yes, I think Vicky is trying to respond to that. She's online and Vicky is one of the business development directors at Lakeview Loan Servicing. So she is in the chat box right now. Just wanted to bring that up. So follow up on that. It says from Vicky again, also running LPA can help as Freddie will allow as a grant in the engine versus Fannie CU. So Vicky had some good points to add to that, but I'll let Sarah see it as she gets to it.
Okay. Sorry, trying to weed through some of these that we've already answered. I'm curious as to why a hospital nurse would not be considered a Texas hero. So it's not that they're not considered a Texas hero. It's just that the Texas legislature actually created the Texas Heroes program for us. They determined what professions would qualify under the Texas Hero program, and they created those definitions. So we are bound by that enabling legislation. We have to follow that enabling legislation. So that's why once we started doing the mortgage-backed security program, we were able to create the Home Sweet Texas program to capture everyone else that didn't fall under the Texas Hero category. So the best thing is that it doesn't really matter. We're able to serve those hospital nurses through the Home Sweet Texas program. They have access to all of our programs just as the Texas Heroes do. All right, so next question.
Sarah, while we're on the subject of Texas Heroes, in the question and answer feature, somebody asked, what is the benefit or what are they saving by being a Texas Hero? Which is a good question. Texas Heroes if they're applying for our MCC DPA combos, where you're getting both programs through us, will get a free MCC, which is a $500 savings. So it is very important that you're making your reservations correctly. If they are a hero, it will trigger that MCC to not be charged. So it'll be charged for non-heroes, but it will be free. It'll be discounted or taken off for heroes, only on the MCC DPA combos.
Yeah, so that's really the main benefit above and beyond our Home Sweet Texas program that a hero would receive at this time. It used to be that we had different income limits for those two programs, where the Texas Heroes were allowed to make more money and still qualify. But recently, in the last 4 years or so, we made our income limits match for both programs, just for ease and to be able to serve more people. So that's kind of how the program has changed and morphed throughout the years. But okay, so do we add a second lien payment in the DTI with the 3-year grant? So that that question I think is a little confusing.
I think we're gonna, we talk about when we do our trainings for the second lien program, we're gonna tackle a lot of these questions. So I think if you want to email us.
So there's no, I mean, there's no payment with the 3-year deferred forgivable, so you don't have to add that payment in to be considered as a part of the DTI. Okay, let's see here. Are we still able to do a manual underwrite if we are under 43%? Kayla, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, absolutely. If the DTI is under 43%, then you're absolutely able to go through with a manual underwrite. That's correct, right, Delia? They just have to check the box on their cert, and we just want to make sure that their DTI is under 43, at 43% or under.
Correct, at or under. Yep. Can a loan officer enter the reservation?
Absolutely. Anybody who has access to the lender portal is allowed to make the reservation. I've seen even underwriters do it. It kind of just depends on how your company prefers to handle that. Some in the past, and I've been a processor, I was always the one who did it, mostly because I'm a control freak. But anybody who has access is able to make the reservation. Obviously, you want to have a initial 1003 and a purchase contract in place before you make that reservation.
Good point. Yep. Does the borrower have to be a first-time home buyer for the grant or any of the non-bond programs?
Absolutely
Kayla,
not.
I think you can take that one too.
Yes, ma'am. We do not have a first-time homebuyer requirement for the DPA-only programs. That's only going to be for the MCC or the bond products, which we all know we are not currently able to offer. Borrowers can actually also currently own a home. Naturally, our requirement is that the home that they are purchasing is being used as their primary residence, which is already a requirement for government loans anyway. But yes, they can even own a home and still use TSAHC.
Perfect. Okay. If a customer qualifies because they are within income guidelines, does a property have to be located in a targeted area?
That's a really good question. I can take this one. When we have a little guide, a little like feature on our website, which is really handy if you haven't seen it. And you don't have to be in a targeted area to qualify. But if you are in a targeted area, then you will have the ability to move over to a higher income bracket on our income chart. So if you're wondering if your area or the borrower is purchasing in a targeted area, there is an actual link on our website where you can type in the address and then you enter the information. It tells you if it is targeted or non-targeted. But that's the only benefit of being in a targeted area, is that you can go up to a higher income bracket. You don't have to be in a targeted area for us to be able to fund you. You know, that's the misconception.
Perfect. Can a borrower still qualify if their non-occupying cosigner is a current homeowner?
Yes.
Same rules.
Just like if the primary
the
borrower
MCC.
owned a home, they could still do it as well.
It's the same rules apply for the MCC program. If either borrower owns a home, they cannot apply for the MCC, but doesn't matter on the down payment grants or second liens, as long as there's no MCC involved.
Will there be a training on how to go from reservation to closing, something more detailed, step-by-step on how to navigate your portal, reserving and keeping up with the process and requirements? This training was more for someone who already has used this DPA and is familiar with the process. So Nora, yes, we do have that training available 24/7. So if you go to either the lender portal or our website, you can go to the lender section on the website, go to lender training, and you'll see module 2 is actually that exact thing. It goes step by step on how to move a file all the way to closing. And then on the lender portal, you would go to the program document section and you'll see where it says lender training resources. And that's where you would find that same module 2. So whatever website you want to go to, you can find module 2, and that will take you through all the details of moving the file through. Okay, so if we upload a corrected document, do you want us to delete the incorrect document?
I'm sorry, I'm on mute.
Oh, okay.
You can leave the other document there. We don't like for people to delete documents. We rather just you upload a corrected one. And we can see, it very obviously, like it has a timestamp on when documents were uploaded. So if you uploaded a current one, we'll know it's current. You can even put a note that says correction. There's a little note feature on the portal. All of that is featured in that training that Sarah talked about, or you can always just call, shoot us an email, we'll guide you through it. But just upload your corrections and you'll be fine.
How often are the requirements for credit and DTI changing now with the COVID situation? I've seen the minimum requirements have changed a couple of times. So we've only had one overlay implemented since COVID by Lakeview, which is that, you know, government loan over 45% DTI requires the 700 FICO. That's the only overlay that we've had to put into place. There have been other lenders that have done things on their own internally outside of us. And so that's the only overlay that we've implemented this whole time, and it hasn't changed since May 4th. But we're hopeful that, you know, that will be lifted shortly, but we just don't know when. So it hasn't been changing frequently. That's really the only thing that's changed. What, if any, are the benefits of using a bond over a grant, which we've already kind of covered that. The bond, you know, would offer the lower interest rate likely than the other programs. But right now we don't have a bond available. Everything is non-bond. Okay, let's see. We're getting close to the end here on the Q&As. So yeah, non-bond program funds do not run out. Those are always there. Do you see another one, Delia? Maybe you're seeing another one.
Yeah, I
Okay.
see a couple of questions that have been brought up that are very similar. If you have a couple that is a hero and a non-hero, are they registered under hero? And if the income limit is over the bond hero limit, can they go non-bond? Again, that's that confusion. The income limits are the same for hero and non-hero. There are no income limits that are differential. They're the same limits. But if you have a hero and a non-hero applicant, If you want to put them in as a hero, we would like to know that we're helping a hero, obviously, make the reservation like that. And if you're doing the combo MCC DPA, then your heroes will get a free MCC. When you are talking about the MCC program, which we'll have another training about, it does have a separate income chart. So there's the regular DPA program and the MCC income chart. That's the only time there's an income difference. It's when you add an MCC. But there is no difference because they happen to be hero or non-hero. So I hope that clears it up a little bit.
Okay, so
I do see a
the
couple
last question
that we missed, Sarah.
go ahead, Danielle. What did I miss?
Or did you answer the one? Maybe I missed it. Did you answer the one where they asked if they need a address to make a reservation?
I know I missed that one. So Kayla, you want to take that one?
I think Kayla said this earlier that they have to have a 10 of 3 in a sales contract to be able to make the reservation.
Correct.
So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah. The borrowers do need to be under contract. We have seen it hardly ever, but occasionally we'll get a TBD because the borrowers haven't found an address. The only time I think that that's acceptable is if there's maybe a new build and we haven't quite gotten the address. But even then, we need the address to determine the census tract as well to complete that reservation. I don't think it'll allow you to do so without a census tract.
Right.
I saw one other question that asked if the first payment is made to the lender and then to Lakeview. And yes, the loan is closed in your company name and then later sold to Lakeview. So if a payment is due in the meantime, that payment would be made to your company.
So we had a question, the 620 score. So 620 score is max 45% DTI. So technically, yes, on a government loan, 620, you would have a max 45% DTI. And then the next question was, and a 640 score is max 55. So with a 640, if you're doing a conventional, it's just AUS approval. There's really technically no max. It's just whatever you can get approved through your automated underwriting system. If you're doing a 640 on government loan, then it would still be a max 45% DTI. So it just depends on the loan that you're using. Okay. I think we're at the end, right? Did I get everything?
Yeah, I do see a question about earnest money. If the borrower
Yes.
earnest money, is that ever refunded if everything is covered at closing or in general? So if you end up with an overage after applying the DPA funds, the borrower is allowed to get back as much as they have deposited. So their earnest money and options money combined is the max amount that the borrower can be refunded. In situations, the seller may have given a large seller credit. In that case, we do, we just kind of assume like, okay, well, the borrower's getting the seller's money back, but ideally, TSAHC is covering closing costs, prepaid items, and any earnest money or options money that was put down. Anything additional is not allowed to be given back to the borrower.
And I would like to add to that if everything has been reimbursed to the borrower, any paid outside of closing items like credit report, appraisals, earnest money, things of that nature, and there is still funds available, then those funds can be applied as a principal reduction. But otherwise, the borrower should never receive any down payment assistance back at closing, more than what they have already initially invested.
So we do have a couple of questions about training. Is there a training schedule? And then also there was a question about where they can take the MCC course. So can you guys see the website? Are you seeing the website? Okay, so you can go to the TSAHC.org website and click on lenders, and it's going to give you a drop-down menu. Here is where you can find the lender training that we've been mentioning. So you click on here, you're going to see these are the required modules, module 1, 2, and 3. That's what you would need to take in order to gain access if you don't already have access to the portal. And then module 2 is what I was mentioning that goes through in detail how to move a file through to closing. These are optional trainings. So we have a training about our deferred forgivable second lien. We have a training about our MCC. This is the MCC course specific to the MCC. And then we have the Train the Trainer program, which is really all about using our program to market yourself and to sell yourself and to get more referrals using our program. So those are where you can find all the trainings. All of these are available 24/7, so you can take them at any time. There's no training schedule. But we will be offering a second lien training next month that we'll talk about the best practices, and we'll have an extensive Q&A again with compliance team about the second lien specifically. Okay, other questions that I might have missed? Did you guys see any others come in?
Sarah, I do see, I know that you've already answered this question, but Teresa Gibbons has asked it several times. So I thought maybe we might just go over that again. And that question is
Okay.
whether or not why would someone choose the 6-month grant versus the 3-year deferred forgivable? So go ahead, if you don't mind answering that one again for her.
Oh, okay, so why someone would use the grant versus the 3-year deferred forgivable?
Or vice versa.
Let me show you. I'm sorry?
Or vice versa.
Or vice versa, yeah. So let me show you our interest rate table as of today. So you'll see right now what I was mentioning before, that the grant, the 3% and the 4% options actually have the same exact interest rates. So before, when we first came out with the 3-year deferred forgivable product, these interest rates were actually lower than the grant. So someone might choose a lower interest rate knowing that they plan to live there for at least 3 years. They don't mind having a second lien on there for that long. So they want the lower interest rate. Right now, the grant and the second lien are the same. So it really just depends on if their lender is able to get it through their automated underwriting system. I mentioned that sometimes the grant has a hard time getting an approval. And if they do have a hard time getting that approval, they can flip it over to a second lien easily because the interest rates are the same to see if they get that approval. Now, with the 5% option, you'll obviously notice that the interest rate is different. It is lower with the second lien versus the grant. So in that case, it would be up to the borrower and what they're able to get approved for to decide, you know, which option they want and which is best. So I hope that that helps.
And to answer or to add to that, you know, as Sarah mentioned early on, it was that the 3-year deferred forgivable almost always offered a lower rate, and sometimes it still does. It just depends on pricing for that day. So you want to go in and look at the rates for that day. If you have a borrower who is interested in a slightly lower interest rate, it may be more available on the 3-year deferred forgivable second lien option.
Can I add to that too, that
Yes.
that the 3-year deferred forgivable is your only option if you're doing a conventional loan. So that would be your only option.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Where do I find the information regarding the home buyer being able to get back the earnest money, option fee, and principal reduction? That's in our guidelines. And I can't tell you off the top of my head which section. Do you
Show them where the guidelines are.
I can show them where the guidelines are. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so you go back to the lender section and you go to income limits and guidelines. And then you can go to the DPA and MCC guidelines here.
Show them the trick of doing a word search.
Well, oh, there we go. I'm like, well, so you can hit Control F on your computer keyboard, Control F, and you can type in earnest money, And there you go. Section 3.3 is where you'll find that information on the guidelines. Okay. Is there a DTI requirement for conventional loans? So no with conventional, no DTI max. It's just what your automated underwriting system will approve. All right, anything else, ladies, that I'm not seeing or that I missed or skipped over? No, we've got about 7 more minutes before we said we would log off.
I'm looking as well.
I don't quite see anything, but again, if anybody feels like their question wasn't answered, you can always email compliancereview@tshac.org or homeownership@tshac.org. The homeownership team handles some pretty basic program questions. Either one will get you to the right person to answer your
Let me
specific
see.
question.
Do y'all see the our contact
Yes.
information again? Okay. So here it is, homeownership@tshac.org, compliancereview@tshac.org. You can call our homeownership hotline, and then all of our individual contacts as well if you feel like you really want to talk to Kayla, or you really want to talk to Delia, or you really want to talk to me. We're here for you. So I think we're done though. I hope everybody enjoyed the training. I appreciate y'all being here. We had over almost 900 almost 900 people register to take the training today, which says, I think, a lot about our program and our team. People like to use TSAHC, and it's because we've got a lot of really great employees here that work really hard to make these programs successful. So Kayla, Danielle, Delia, thank you
Sarah.
for being on the call today. Yeah, pat myself on the back. But yeah, so I think we're good. Again, this training was recorded, so I will be downloading and working on that this afternoon to hopefully get it up on the website before the end of the week. If not, early next week, we'll get that up and running. So I think we'll go ahead and call it good.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Take
All
care.
right. Thanks, guys. Yeah. Be safe. Take care. Okay. Bye-bye.
Signing off.
Bye.